So we have a speaker tonight who, for anyone who's been here before, almost needs no introduction, right? He was the president of this organization for the last, what, 2 years?
Yeah, I should be recognizable.
Yeah, probably you've seen him before, you know? He's been interested in astronomy basically for his whole life, especially interested in NASA missions and so forth. He is a student. He has returned to school as of, what, a couple years ago?
Too many, but yeah.
He's majoring in physics and astronomy
Correct.
at Wayne State University as an undergraduate. You're going to go to grad school?
Ask me later.
And he also helps run a planetarium at Wayne State. Tonight, his presentation has to do with a visit he made to the John Glenn Astronomy Park, which I didn't know there was such a thing. So.
Neither did I until we stumbled across it. I am a presenter at the Wayne State Planetarium. I don't really help run it, but maybe someday. All right, a visit to the John Glenn Astronomy Park, funded and implemented by the Friends of Hocking Hills State Park. If you're not familiar, the Hocking Hills region of southern Ohio is a beautiful geologic oddity that has very beautiful cliff faces. It's kind of a climbing mecca. And so we took a trip down there for an extended weekend, and as we were driving, we come across this John Glenn Astronomy Park, and I say, well, what is that? I have some of their flyers, so if you are interested after this lecture, there they are. All right. So much like a dog park is built to please the canine, the John Glenn Astronomy Park seems to be designed to please the amateur astronomer. It has an attention to detail and thoroughness that I have never seen before or since, but it is not a club. It is a park, and they do not want to be a club. In fact, most of the places I've come across in my travels don't want to be a club for whatever reason. So, who? John Glenn, of course. What? Astronomy Park. Where? I said southern Ohio. It's about an hour outside of Columbus. It's about a 4.5-hour drive from here, so it's not necessarily close, but as you will see, worth the trip. And you can find it, because I wouldn't say it's the easiest thing to find, so definitely take down their website here, JGAP, John Glenn Astronomy Park.info. You can use this address or their actual coordinates to find your way there. You can make reservations. But when, unlike us, they close down for the winter. Ooh. Kind of strange. So wait until March 6th. Before you head down there, because they will not be open. And then they host programs on clear Friday and Saturday nights all through basically the summer. And finally, why? Well, why not? So here is what they wanted. It has a lot of interesting features. So a parking lot, an outbuilding here, and then the park itself. There's a lot of fine detail going on here. There's a flagpole that you can't really see, this little circular oddity. Not all of this stuff got built. This little thing here, which was going to be one of those like rotating globe fountain things, doesn't look like they got that built. I think there's a drinking fountain over here that was not there when we were there. However, what's not on this image that they do have, and good catch for them, is they have a bathroom here that they did not picture. So here is what they got. This is a picture I pulled from the web shortly after their construction. Shows a lot of the things that they wanted to get, and it is absolutely beautiful. If I go back here, the most important feature, and why I say the attention to detail, this wall is the most glorious wall you will ever see It blocks all the light from the incoming cars so that they never hit the observing field.
Yeah.
A thing of beauty. Yes. This is the wall, and that actually is the wall from this opening slide here. So, the park was made possible by a lot of donors that they have immortalized all over the park. This is also on that giant wall, and then the rest of these are basically found all throughout the park. And then there are also some on the floor tiles of the entire park area. In the back, another thing that wasn't in their original image but is a lot of fun is this "You Are the Sundial." So they have months denoted here that you stand on. So we went in August, early morning, about 10:30. And so just a neat thing for someone to do going out there. What a neat idea. They really have a lot of neat ideas. It doesn't make your observing any better, but it just makes you want to be there. So in the center of their, I'll call it a pavilion, they have this bench which has outlets for power. So the people that need power kind of congregate around this bench. But there's also this pole with a silver sphere, and then there's also a flagpole that you can see in these other pictures. And they hoist no flag. And actually what this is there's a hole through this, and this is aligned to Polaris. So if it was a clear night, Polaris would be right about there. So I took a picture out of alignment and then another one in alignment so that you could see that flagpole there. The other interesting thing in this image is scale. So this ball represents the Earth. This bench represents Jupiter.
Whoa.
The pavilion itself represents the sun.
Whoa.
So a very interesting way to convey scale in the solar system in the park itself.
Very cool.
And then you may notice these odd monoliths in the background. Anyone got a guess?
Sunrise, sunset.
That is correct. These are lined up with the solstices and equinoxes for both sunrise and sunset. So there's 6 of them. It is a henge, amongst other things. So, you know, just the longer you're in this park, the more things you start to notice. And it's like, oh man, I gotta come back for an equinox? So, I could not be more jealous of this Roloff Observatory. Look at the size of this thing. These are really big steel beams. It's basically on like small train wheels. The engineering that went into this thing is pretty impressive. It's huge. And this back room, this whole roof, you'll see, this is a crummy picture, but the roof actually separates along this seam here and slides over this smaller roof in the back, which is basically their private warming room. It's not really a public space, and I have on suspicion that it's as bad as our Dob ship in there. But a really cool observatory. And what?
Just to clarify,
Yes,
that big roof is a roll-off roof?
this roof rolls off.
What the heck?
Yes.
Are
It
you
is.
serious?
It's out of control. Yes.
Is there a telescope in there?
And what do they have in that observatory?
Yeah.
So many toys.
Who's going?
So this, I should have gone through there with a pen and pencil asking them everything about everything, but I believe this is about a 12 to 14 inch Dob. They've got an LX200, they've got a Meade, they've got something else, they got this thing, they've got a solar scope. Help me out, 14 inch Celestron?
Probably.
On a pier mount, and then their big boy is a 28-inch Dob.
Yeah.
And
What time are you leaving?
yeah, he said he'd let me run it if he needed a bathroom break, but He held it. So I didn't really get to point it, but we did look at some objects through that thing. The scene wasn't great when we were there, but it was really cool. But a very long. It was a big dot line from astronomy at the beach when we were there. And this is what the park can look like on a typical Friday night. So before, as the sun is setting, everyone comes out. One of their volunteers, this guy is a doctor who makes the trip from Columbus every Friday and Saturday to do this. Him and his wife are basically the engineers of this entire project, with help from this man here, who is the head of the Friends of Hocking Hills and the commerce of the Hocking Hills region. He's basically never left the Hocking Hills his entire life. Except for, I think he said he had a heart attack once and they had to take him to a hospital just outside of town. But it was a really fun night, and just one last example of how the culture down there is a little different. We have our bandanas. They have cooling towels. Cooling towels?
They go during the summer.
Okay, but I had to have one because it has their logos on it. I've never needed to cool myself at an astronomy event, but you know, Southern Ohio, it gets a little warm, so that is the John Glenn Astronomy Park. Any questions?
When are we planning a trip?
That's up to you.
Oh yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
March
Shoot.
March 6th or later.
Is that about a 5-hour drive, maybe?
Yeah, if you stop, you can make it in 4.5, but you'd have to be cruising. And unfortunately, the ideal path does not take you past the Armstrong Museum, so if you want to stop at the Armstrong Museum along the way, you're basically making it a 5.5-hour trip, but also worth it.
You said like there were these electrical outlets and stuff. Is that for the public or is that for these people?
No, you can bring your scope and use those outlets. Absolutely. They have quite a few people that bring their own scopes.
Are there places to stay around there?
Yes. The Hocking Hills region is a touristy little area, and this is one thing to do there. Definitely check it out. But the Hocking Hills region is also just beautiful for its own.
What is the Bortle rating of the sky there?
Pass.
I mean, like, did you get to, I mean, you know, transparency aside, did you get a sense of how bad the light pollution is?
The light pollution is actually not very bad because the Hocking Hills region is basically a preserve. And there's not much infrastructure there. I mean, the closest big town you have is to the northwest, and it's Columbus. But the skies are pretty darn good. It's better than we have.
Better than Stargate?
Yes.
But not as good as Gladwin?
Never been.
Not as good as Northern Michigan?
I mean, I was only there one night. It was the only clear night, but it's pretty darn good. It's not the best, but yeah, when we were in the Lion's Head in Canada, that was like tremendous. So yeah, it's not, you know, Northern Michigan with the water out in front of you, but it's a pretty good place, and 28-inch telescope helps too.
But how far from Chillicothe?
How am I on time?
Sorry.
Good.
I withdraw the question.
No, I got 1 minute.
About how far from Chillicothe?
Pass.
Withdraw
the question.
You said that it closes for the winter time. So when are they open, and how, like, are they open fixed hours, or are they only open certain days?
So I think they kind of operate it the same way we do Stargate. They kind of make a call based on the weather, but I believe they just open up in March, and then they're open, I think, maybe through September, because we were there, I think, in August. Maybe October, I don't know.
It's dark!
It's their park. They get to do what they want with it. I don't know.
Can we bring your own scopes there?
Yes,
So can you go there even when they're not running it, or?
I believe so.
Okay.
The park is open 24 hours. I believe the bathrooms are also open 24 hours.
Okay, that's great.
There's a little area when you first pull in that has kind of all of the information that you need. But yes, I do believe you are allowed to do that.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.